Okay, everyone. So you'll recall that in the previous lesson, I taught you a song by rote called Chairs to Mend. And the song went something like this. I'll write out the note names we used because we did it in solfege. Sol, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, so, do, so, do. Chairs to mend, hold chairs to mend, mackerel, fresh mackerel, any old rags, any old rags. And I played it for my trumpet. And I hope you've had time to practice that on your own during the course of the week. If you have that song internalized, you know the words, you know how to play it, you know how to play it with a steady beat, especially if you played it along with the steady beat with the recording that I made for you on the last lesson, then it'll be much easier to identify the rhythm we're playing correctly. So on the screen now you see I've got 3 lines of 8 dashes each because our song Chairs to Mend has 3 lines that are each 8 beats long. Follow along with me. Listen to this. Chairs to mend, hold chairs to mend, mackerel, fresh mackerel, any old rags, any old rags. And then the song repeats again. So as you sing that song and feel the beat, you'll notice that there's some notes that happen on the beat, and there's some notes that are harder to figure out. For example, I know that chairs and mend, chairs to mend, each happen on the beat. Old, chairs, mend. This beat has a rest. Mackerel, fresh mackerel. So the in mackerel doesn't happen on a beat. It's somewhere in between. And there's no rest here. At the end of this line is actually where any goes. Any old rags, any old rags, and then the tune ends with a rest before it repeats again. You'll notice that beat 2, here and here, both those beats are empty because beat 1 is actually a half note. It lasts 2 beats. It goes all the way until beat 3 happens. All right. Now the question is, how do we find out where the 2 in chairs to mend is? How do we find out where the in mackerel is? So I'm going to do something for you. I want you to softly say out loud this while I play the song. We don't want your old rags. Just say that over and over again while I play. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. We don't want your old rags. 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 Now, while you chanted that, we don't want your old rags, which word, which syllable was happening when I got to the 2 in chairs to mend? Which syllable, we don't want your, was happening when I was singing mackerel? If you're not sure, go back and listen to it once again. So what you probably noticed is we don't want your, that the 2 in chairs to mend happened on the word your. So let's see. We don't want your old rags. They happened on that 8th note there. So there's a couple of different ways we can make a note that just happens on the and of 2. The most obvious way is I could put an eighth rest, and an eighth note there, and that gives me 1. Then I play on the and 3, 4, and I can do the same place in all these places. So now if we're to count the whole thing, 1 and 3, 4, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 4, 1 and 3, 4 and 1, 3, 4 and 1, 3. Now that makes the notes happen at the correct time. The problem with that is that it ends up being chairs to mend instead of chairs to mend, and mackerel instead of mackerel. It's a really awkward way of saying, taking that pause right in the middle of the word mackerel, or in that place in the sentence in chairs to mend. So there's another way that we can do this as well. So instead of having that awkward silence, I could write this measure as a pair of eighth notes, but tie these notes together. And then instead of 1 and 3 with a rest, it's 1 and 3, which makes much more sense. Now there's an even simpler way still. We already learned about using augmentation points to make a dotted half note. That dot makes the half note 1 beat longer. We can also use augmentation points with quarter notes. So a dot would make it a half beat longer, which makes it last 1.5 beats. That is not a pretty note. And then that eighth note is still going to end up being on the and of 2, 1 and 3. So I could write the entire song out like this. So these dotted rhythms are very important, very common in music. You're going to start seeing them more often starting after line 92. I hope that this song was helpful for you to learn how the rhythm fits in and how it sounds. When I was in middle school, my band director taught us this dotted rhythm using the song My Country 'Tis of Thee. My country 'tis of thee. That 'tis of thee is that rhythm right there. So for the longest time when I played a song and I saw that dotted rhythm, I would look at that dotted rhythm and I would think, 'tis of thee, no matter what song it was in or where it was. That 'tis of thee helped me remember it. You can use 'tis of thee if you want, because I just shared that idea with you. You could also use chairs to mend whenever you see that idea somewhere. Or you can use the counting 1 and 3, which is probably the best bet. One other thing you can use to think about this is if you're tapping your foot, as I would like you to when you play this rhythm, your foot is going to hit the ground exactly twice on beat 1 and on beat 2, and your foot is going to be up on the and, so down, up, down. Tapping your foot can help you find that eighth note as well. All right, I think that's enough for now, guys. Thanks for stopping by.